sure the stream I can see it so that way we know we live. Alrighty, we are live. Alrighty, everyone. Welcome once again to The Charge. This time we are joined by my boy Brad. How you doing, Brad?
Doing good. How about you, bro?
Can't complain. You know, the only L I took last night was probably the Nate Robinson taking that 1-2 combo punch from Jake Paul, man.
That was rough to watch.
I mean, before we even start talking NBA, what did you make of the fight? I mean, obviously it wasn't necessarily like, grand or special, but, well, maybe special in other reasons, but.
He had no business being in that ring. Like, he got trapped into that fight, I think. Jake Paul was talking hot shit to him. You know, he's Nate Robinson, former 3-time dunk champ from Seattle, yada, yada. He's supposed to be hard. But Jake Paul has actually been boxing for a while, so, he actually knew what he was doing. He's been in a real boxing match before. Like, that shit is real. It's different from normal fighting. So you have to adhere to certain rules. I think if it had been like a street fight or something and Nate can, tackle and kick and whatnot, he might have beat him, maybe. But it would have been a little more fair.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, I don't know.
I just don't know why he stepped in.
Yeah, I mean, like, you're giving up, like, what? Like, 2 or 3 inches? Like, what is he, 5'9"? And, like, Jake Paul is, like, what? 6-something?
6'1".
6'1", 6'2".
Yeah.
It's just, like, I don't know. I feel like there's a reason why fighters fight, like, in a certain weight class, in a certain height class, because, obviously,
yeah,
the shorter man's going to get knocked out. 10 times out of 10.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like, this is just, I don't know. I mean, I know we're not. I know this
was embarrassing for Seattle.
Yeah, I mean, this is just a L all around. But as much as we can talk about L's, let's move on to some W's here, and let's talk about some of this NCAA college basketball hoop that happened this weekend. Obviously, a bunch of games happened. So many different classics, whether it was the Fort Werner Classic or the Bad Boy Mowers Classic, championship game. No matter what the corny name of these, I wouldn't say like maybe participation trophy awards that are going on for basketball tournaments. What kind of stood out to you in terms of like basketball this weekend? Was there a player? Was there a team? Like what stood out to you the most?
A couple players stood out. I would say Jalen Suggs jumps off the page immediately. His first bucket was that alley-oop poster, so I know a lot of people saw that and were really impressed with that. His athleticism is crazy. I remember they were saying he was like, a top recruit. He won Mr. Football in his state in Minnesota, and the athleticism really shows on the court. He's lightning quick. He makes smart decisions with the ball. He can pass. He can shoot. He's really talented.
Yeah, I mean, just kind of going off that, yeah, Jalen Suggs definitely stood out as a player because I know my friends who went to Gonzaga, they're like bragging about him. They're bragging about this team because, this is like the first time in a while where Gonzaga actually has like a 5-star recruit that wasn't like a transfer. It was like they ended up signing him, and they're getting a lot more players to actually come to Gonzaga and creating like a little college town down there in Spokane. But yeah, I mean, like his passing ability to me is what stood out the most, man. Like some of the passes that he made were just like very NBA level-esque in terms of like getting guys open, being able to drive and kick it to the right guy at the right time. I do think that he's going to be a really good pro in this league, just for passing alone. I think shooting-wise, kind of like I talked about with my friend Sean and everybody that's been on here, like I think shooting-wise, that's his biggest struggle.
Yeah. But, I mean, that'll come. Everybody gets better at shooting once they get in the league because, you have shooting trainers. You have more, like, real-life repetition. Because right now he's just kind of showcasing his skills,
Right. And then there was another player that I think stood out to me, Brad. I'm not sure if you were watching closely to the Gonzaga games, but the power forward or the center, Timmy.
Oh, yep.
Dude got back-to-back 25-point games. That's insane. Like,
Honestly, yeah.
For a guy that doesn't look like he should be playing basketball, he looks like he should be playing noon ball at the LA Fitness. Like he just does not look athletic at all. But like he just, he's a guy that looks like he's played with like a bunch of old guys and learned how to score effectively playing against those type of guys. So I can't hate on him too much because he definitely did his job. He got back-to-back 25-point games on some pretty good competition. I mean, I know Auburn isn't necessarily the team it once was, but it's still a pretty solid program. And the fact that they were able to, that he was able to get 25 points on that team is pretty special, if I do say so myself.
Yeah, I like his game. He's really skilled, super skilled. His footwork is crazy. He can spread the floor. He makes the right reads when he gets doubled. He can pass out of them. I like his game a lot. I like that Gonzaga team a lot because they have so many weapons. It's not just Suggs or Tim. If you double one of those guys, then Kispert is going to make you pay too. He's another player that stood out to me. I think Kispert is a legit, really good NBA prospect. I kind of compare him to a young Mike Miller.
Young
Mike
okay.
Miller. Yeah, Mike Miller had the bounce when he was young. They're about the same height, 6'6", 6'7". They can both shoot the hell out of the ball. They're both extremely confident. I like Corey Kispert's game a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I think
I could see him being a high 3-and-D.
Oh, sorry, what were you saying, Brad?
I could see him being a high 3-and-D player in the league.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like, Kispert, I know a lot of my Gonzaga friends, and, you probably have some Gonzaga friends too. They're probably just raving about this team. Brad, I think the biggest question for them is this going to be the year that they finally win the championship, or do you think they're going to blow it in the end like they always do?
To be honest, I think they're going to blow it in the end just because it's kind of the nature of the game with Gonzaga. They have this, they always get this number 1 ranking or top 5 ranking, and then because of the conference they play in, they don't, it's just a completely different game from playing in March Madness and playing all these other top teams who play other top teams all year. So it's not like they're not better than them, but by the time they have to play them, they've played such watered down competition. It's just tougher to face those teams.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's just a lot of I think Gonzaga, I think I give them a better shot than I think any year. But I do think that there are a couple teams that could give them a run for their money. And I think one of those teams, to be honest with you, is Kentucky. I know Kentucky, hasn't been necessarily the best team in a while, but I think these recruits that they just got from this class is pretty good. You got guys like Terrence Clark, you got guys like BJ Boston who looked very impressive in their debuts, at least the debuts that I watched. BJ Boston is still a little bit raw to me. I think he could be a little bit better. But obviously, you're like 17, 18 years old at this point. So I think, with a bunch of season left, there's definitely a lot of room to grow. But I think Terrence Clark, to me, stood out more than BJ Boston.
Yeah, I love Terrence Clark's game. He's super confident, extremely athletic. He's long. I think he could be a great NBA player. With that athleticism and length, he'll be a menace on defense. The jumper is smooth. It's consistent. He shoots the same way every time, and he gets great elevation on his jumper. So, nobody can block that. I like Terrence Clark a lot, too. The thing I like about BJ Boston, though, is I think he has, like, a playmaking wrinkle to his game that Terrence Clark doesn't have.
Like, do you kind of warrant, like, BJ Boston to maybe, like, a Brandon Ingram? Or do you think that's kind of just a lazy comparison?
I wouldn't say he's Brandon Ingram. I'm trying to think of a good comparison for him, but I wouldn't say Ingram just because Ingram's a lot taller. BJ Boston 6'7", Ingram 6'10". Ingram had a way better like playmaking dynamic to his game than BJ Boston, and his scoring in college was a lot like high level.
Right.
He made it look way too easy.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe like Kevin Martin.
Kevin Martin, okay, I could see it without the funky release.
Yeah.
I could see it. I think Kevin Martin. I think was he an All-Star one year?
No, but he came close. He was leading the league in scoring for like months. Oh, we have some NBA news. Nicholas Batum's going to sign with the Clippers.
Ooh, okay. You know what? Let's talk about it, Brad. You late breaking news to everybody that is just man, I can't talk today. Late breaking news to anybody who's joining us right now. My boy Brad has officially told us, according to his sources. You don't have to reveal who your sources are, but it looks like Nicholas Batum is going to be signing with the LA Clippers. Brad, you know, Nicholas Batum has been collecting a paycheck in Charlotte for so many years after signing that huge contract extension. Does Nicholas Batum help this team at all?
I think he helps them. I think he helps them for sure. If he can stay healthy, it's not a bad pickup because he fills a need. You know, he's a playmaker, and they desperately need that. I can't think of a better playmaker on their roster right now, other than Lou Will. Maybe Luke Kennard too, but Luke Kennard can't play defense with Batum. At least he's 6'8" and long, and he can. I haven't seen him play good defense in years, but maybe he still can't.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, you know, we haven't seen like a good Nicholas Batum probably since what, the Portland Trailblazer days. Like it's just been a while for him, and I think when I look at the teams that were interested in him, according to some of these like Chris Haynes, you know, you had like the Nets, the Warriors, the Jazz, the Clippers, Bucks, and Raptors. You know, apparently he's been losing weight, so he's now in like NBA shape in terms of like he's actually committed to, you know, working out and getting into the best shape of his life. It's almost like, you know, when you leave a relationship and, you know, you've gained a couple pounds because, you know, it's that couples 20 or whatever it is, and, you know, you finally break up and then you start working out. I feel like that's kind of where Nicholas Batum is at in his career.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, you know, it's like, okay, this is my final chance to really make things right and to actually do a good job. And they're just like, you know what? I'm going to work out and get better. And obviously, you know, he got waived by the Hornets, is now going to the Clippers. And I think it does help them, but I still think after everything that, and we can talk about it a little bit later, Brad, if you want, or even talk about it now. You know, I still think the Lakers had probably the best offseason out of anybody in the league so far. I mean, you know, the Atlanta Hawks is close, but I still think the Lakers have won the free agency so far. And, you know, we're still like a couple days, maybe like a week or two into it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, by far, I would say the Lakers won free agency. Hawks maybe a close second. Maybe. I could probably think of a better team like... I was going to say the Bucks, but they lost out on Bogdan, so I guess I'd give it to the Hawks.
Yeah, I mean, like, other than that, I really can't think of teams that have really bolstered their roster like the way that the Hawks and the Lakers have. You know, I think or even, you know, the Phoenix Suns might be a close second. You know, they did make some good signings. They got Jay Crowder. They got Chris Paul. So I think they're just kind of helping Devin Booker in that aspect of seeing like, okay, this is how you are supposed to win a championship. And, oh, hang on one second. Eoy, how you doing, man? The Bulls should sign Nate Robinson. You
know, I don't know if anyone's gonna want to sign Nate for a while.
I don't even think he's got to get back in the lab and start working on his boxing game, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like, kind of going back to the free agency stuff, Brad, I think after looking at everything, like I said, I mean, I think the Suns definitely did a really good job kind of going more into them. I know Chris Paul is aging a little bit, but at the same time, I still think that even at 35 or however old he is at this moment, I still think he can give you those buckets and those assists. And really, you know, I think the real reason why they signed him was to kind of give him some growth and development for Devin Booker and to see whether or not DeAndre Ayton can be that superstar player.
Exactly. I think Chris Paul will magnify their games. You know, like we've seen what Ayton and Booker can do together alone, but now with Chris Paul, somebody who's, you know, one of the best floor generals in the league, can really put these guys in their spots and make it easier for them. I think we're going to see a different Ayton and Booker next year.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I'm hoping so, because I think, like I said, I think Devin Booker definitely developed from, like, his first couple years. Like, we're seeing, like, a tremendous growth passing-wise. He's actually looking for players. He's actually getting in better positions to shoot the ball, and that's something that I think a lot of players don't necessarily do very well, you know, kind of in the Devin Booker position. in terms of like, they're kind of a star player, but they could be a superstar if they just change a couple things. And I feel like Devin Booker's been changing a couple things to his game.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I wish he would change is his girlfriend, because I am not a fan of the Jenner. But
Yeah.
it is what it is. I just hope that he doesn't get cursed. That's my only thing I have to say about Devin Booker.
Me too. That's one of my favorite players in the league. I need him to stay far away from the Kardashians. Right when they're about to have their year too. I think the Suns are going to be a top defense in the league. I would say I like the Suns moves better than the Hawks just because it fit their team better. The Hawks moves made their team better overall, but
Mm-hmm.
it didn't really fit their team because okay, you signed Gallo to like 60 mil. So he has to eat a bunch of minutes and you have DeAndre Hunter in the wing position, the exact same position as Gallo and Cam Reddish, so that's how you're going to stunt the development of somebody, and then you have Rondo, Chris Dunn, and Bogdan Bogdanovic, but then you have Kevin Herter over here who plays the same position as those guys, plus Cam Reddish who slides over there sometimes, and then you have Clint Capella, but then draft Oneku Okongwu. So what's I think they'll trade Clint for sure,
Yeah, they have to.
but yeah, but that's why their pieces. The team got better for sure, but it doesn't gel necessarily. I think the Suns their pieces gel perfectly. You got a playmaker for Devin and Ayton. You got defense and shooting with Crowder. You got more playmaking with Etwan Moore. Uh, they signed Dario Saric again, brought back a good big man. I think that team is going to be really fun to watch. They signed Javon Carter again, so they have a really, really good defense. And good defenders magnify each other because I know Book's defense has been suspect, but he is 6'6" with a wingspan. So I think if you surround him with good defenders like Paul, Mikal Bridges, Ayton, he will shine at defense.
Yeah, I think I agree with you there, Brad. I think the Suns and just kind of Devin Booker defensively, I think they could be a good team. Obviously, it's kind of a wait and see because, I want to. I mean, obviously, Ayton played really well. Pardoning the suspension that he had for PEDs. So I think at the end of the day, what we're gonna notice from guys like Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton and Chris Paul and that Phoenix Suns team is that they're gonna obviously make the playoffs. I think things that are gonna happen this season is that I think the Suns are gonna move into like that maybe the 5th or 6th seed is where my prediction is for them at this moment. I mean, I still have to wait for more moves to happen. Obviously, there's like little moves that still need to be done around the league. But at this point, I feel comfortable saying that they will make the playoffs in that 5th or 6th seed.
Yeah, for sure. I could see them going as far as top four if shit, like if the games go the right way for them. If someone like the Clippers flop early on, or barring injury, you never want to see that. I would, but like something could happen and they could sneak their way into the top four.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens with the Suns. And let's kind of move on really quick. You said, yeah, I like what the Suns did. Get great vets and leaders on the game. Or, sorry, great vets and leaders. Crowder and Chris Paul. I like each one more. Has solid depth and loved him when he was in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm trying to see if there's anything else. We got some Alfred Payton news. Looks like he's just going to go back to the Knicks. Man, the Knicks are just
terrible. That's
terrible.
Terrible.
It's not even worth discussing them because they're so bad. They're so bad. I mean, the one thing I will say, like, kind of going to their. Actually, we haven't talked since the draft, Brad. I mean, do you kind of want to give your analysis on the draft and how it went?
Yeah, sure. I liked. It was kind of weird to watch because a lot of teams did what they usually do and they just didn't draft for what their team needed. But some teams did that, like the Suns. They drafted Jalen Green, and they needed a power forward. But then after signing him, they brought back, or not Jalen Green, Jalen Smith. Can't remember his last name, but even the power forward from Maryland.
Yeah.
After they drafted him, they brought back Saric and signed him to that big contract for 3 years. So it's like, okay, you drafted him at number 10. A top 10 pick has to get, a large amount of minutes. So what's going to happen there?
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree with you there. I think I agree with you in that sense. It's like, why bring in a guy like, Jalen Smith if you're just going to sign Saric, if you're just going to, mostly he's probably going to be off the bench type of player. And maybe, maybe in the future, a couple years, they'll get him to play. But what did you make of Tyrese Maxey moving so down the list? I mean, what was he at, 21, 22, if I'm not mistaken? Like,
21, yeah.
Were you shocked at that, or what was your kind of gut reaction to that move?
I was completely shocked. I thought by that time he was easily the most talented player up on the board, and I thought after every pick he was going to get selected, but then he fell all the way to 21st. I like it for the Sixers. I love it, actually. He feels a need for them. He's a 6'5" long point guard. He can get to the cup. He can play make. I think he might end up, getting some serious minutes on that team, which for the Sixers isn't that good because they're trying to win. But I hope at this point they've realized that's not going to happen and they need to actually build their team. So don't trade away Tyrese Maxey the same way you did Markelle Fultz.
Yeah, I mean, like, kind of going to like the Tyrese Maxey thing. Like, I was just shocked at the time because it was like, I think, like, to be honest with you, I think he's going to be like a Jamal Murray, Devin Booker, kind of like that low end type of player that no one really expected to be much, but is going to grow to be like a superstar, all-star player. Maybe all-star, more like it. I could see him making a couple all-stars, but the one thing I just didn't like was the jump shot. I thought it was too, like, he was shooting too much from his face instead of a little bit of a higher elevation. But other than that, like, he had the complete package. He could finish around the rim. His jump shot wasn't too bad if he can get it off quick enough. And the fact that he just fell that far is just kind of, it's kind of crazy because I don't think that there were players that were that much better than him in that draft.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know what teams were seeing or GMs were thinking, but there's a lot of teams that could have used him before that.
I mean, like, even
oh,
sorry, what were you gonna say, Brad?
I was thinking the Celtics were gonna draft him with their top pick, but then they took Peyton Pritchard instead.
No, they took Naismith because Peyton. Peyton Pritchard was a little bit lower. He was like 26.
30th. Okay, 26. Oh yeah, they took Smith out of Vanderbilt.
Yeah, just crappy.
That confused me too.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I don't want to get back on my Boston rant because I went on a huge rant like a couple days ago on the stream, but I just think at this point, Naismith has only played 13 games this season, didn't really do much for Vanderbilt. I know that his shooting percentage was so high, but that's just because he didn't really play that many games.
Yeah.
And I think that there were some players that we could have taken instead of him. I thought, I was wondering where the trades were going to come in. There was rumors that we wanted Miles Turner. There's a bunch of other rumors that were going on. And the fact that we didn't even get into the top 6, which is what was rumored to be happening, it's just, I think Danny Ainge and I believe Doc Rivers are kind of in the same boat. They're living off that 2008 championship way too much, and they need to start focusing on getting back to being hungry again. And I just think that these guys aren't hungry like they once were back in 2008 when they had that Ray Allen, Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett type of team. And it just feels like I just feel like Danny Ainge doesn't have it anymore as a GM, and I feel like they need to start replacing him ASAP because the fact that you brought in Aaron Naismith, which I'm not necessarily a fan of, you got in, who else did we get in? I think we traded RJ Hampton to the Nuggets. I'm not sure who else we brought in, but we got Desmond Bane from TCU, who is, I don't mind.
Like his game.
I don't mind him. I think he could actually be a good player. I like Peyton Pritchard a lot. But other than that, it's like, losing Gordon Hayward for nothing, even though we did do a sign and trade. So we do get that trade exception from Hayward. At the end of the day, it was still a nothing sandwich from the Boston Celtics because at the end of the day, we didn't improve our team. We kind of kept it the same, if not a little bit worse. And we did get Tristan Thompson, who is not a bad player. I'm not going to slate him too bad.
He'll make your team better.
He'll make our team better, but just the Kardashian thing again, not a big fan of that.
Yeah.
We also signed Jeff Teague, which I'm not. I think that's a good, like, solid backup pickup.
Yeah, but see, that's my thing. If you were gonna sign Jeff Teague, why wouldn't you just draft Tyrese Maxey? Like, it doesn't make with Nesmith, they're jam logged at that position. Marcus Smart plays that position. Jaylen Brown plays that position. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it's just
Don't
like,
you guys still have Romeo Langford too, who plays that position?
Yeah, I'm not expecting anything from Romeo Langford. I still think he's going to be like a G League two-way type of guy. I just haven't seen progression from him. The way that I think I've seen other rookies in that draft class. I mean, hell, we were supposed to draft Tyler Hero in that spot.
But to be fair, I don't think Boston gives their young guys that kind of chance. Like that's another thing Danny Ainge in Boston is really bad at is they get like Grant Williams is a good young player for you guys, and he only got the chance because Gordon Hayward got injured. So Langford was getting a couple minutes when Hayward got injured, but he never really got a chance to even make an impact.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I think his ceiling to me is going to be just like a 3-and-D type of almost like a Danny Green, in terms of obviously a champion, but at the same time, it's like a role player on the team where I think for that draft pick and what people were saying about Romeo Langford, I thought he was going to be I thought he was going to be maybe not like all-star, but at least a solid player, a starter on the team, but. I think like you said, we're jam-logged in all these positions, and we drafted Naismith shooting-wise, and I think we still need a big that can, score down low. Tristan Thompson is more of just like a rebounder, hustler. We'll put back anything that comes his way. But at the end of the day, I think what's frustrating to me is like I talked about before. This was kind of what we talked about, like an oven-baked process. You brought in Kyrie, you brought in Gordon Hayward. Those didn't pan out. You lost pretty much all the stuff for a guy like Gordon Hayward, for a guy like Kyrie Irving, and then ended up just getting nothing. Well, I guess to be fair, we did get a trade exception from Gordon Hayward, but still, at the end of the day, it's not enough to warrant the Celtics to drafting a guy like Aaron Naismith when you got guys like Tyrese Maxey, who I like more. I know we were, rumored to get Precious as well. Josh Green, I think would have been a better fit. I think.
Yeah, at least with the defense, yeah.
But at the end of the day, all I can say is that it is what it is.
Back on your rant.
It is what it is. Because like I talked about with Danny Ainge, man, I just don't think he has the fire and desire to kind of, especially with I think his son works for the organization too. I don't want to disrespect Danny Ainge, but because he's an all-star, or sorry, not all-star, but he helped our teams win championships back in the 80s. But at the end of the day, the thing I do get frustrated with him about the most is just the fact that I feel like there's no fire to make that big move trade. Whether it was trying to get Anthony Davis back a couple years ago, or whether it was trying to get Kawhi Leonard or any of these other superstar players. I mean, unless you're telling the fans like, hey, we are going to build this team through the draft, and we're going to try and get a solid roster through drafting, and then get a couple veterans to help us and lead these young players. But I'm not getting that vibe from them. I'm getting some sort of like, we have no idea what we're doing, and we lost our first, second, third, and fourth option. We now have to move to our fifth option, and those are the players that we sign, rather than trying to go get the number one or number two option that we want on the team.
Yeah, that's. I think. I think Ainge's time is coming to an end, bro. I think you'll get what you want, Simmons.
I hope so, man, because I think he is definitely holding our team back. I think there's something with him that's creating a culture problem as to why players are leaving so quickly. I mean, we saw Kyrie Irving do it. I mean, Kyrie Irving, Gordon Hayward do it. Gordon Hayward just robbing people of money left and right, it looks like.
Well, yeah, we got to talk about that. That shit is crazy.
Yeah, let's talk about it after, just a little bit more of Danny Ainge slander. But just kind of going back to the draft, like I said, I do like their two pickups that they had in this draft. A player like Peyton Pritchard and a guy like Desmond Bane. I think those guys will be more impactful than I feel like an Aaron Naismith will. I mean, unless Aaron Naismith just comes in the games just gunning and lighting it up, I mean, I just don't see it.
Yeah. I mean, even with the Peyton Pritchard pick, I like Peyton Pritchard, but the fact that he went to a Danny Ainge team kind of worries me, since I know how Danny Ainge treats his little point guards. IT apparently shopping Kemba everywhere. Mm-hmm. And now, here comes Peyton Pritchard, who's less athletic than both IT and Kemba put together. And he's about the same size, so it's I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, I think Danny Ainge, like we talked about probably numerous amount of times on the channel, probably talked about it numerous times, just off the camera, on the camera, no matter what it is. I think at the end of the day, it's time for not Peyton Pritchard. It's time for Danny Ainge to go. It's time for him to start. And if he wants to work on a new team, let him work on a new team. But at the end of the day, I just don't want him on this team anymore because he's obviously creating some sort of culture that is toxic. It's something that is not needed for the Boston Celtics. You know, with so much history of the organization with winning basketball, we haven't won in a while. You know, 2008 may seem very short to many other teams because they haven't gotten to that point. But when you're a team like the Boston Celtics, where you're expected to win championships back and forth, and to be at least contending for those championships at least is frustrating. And I'm sure Lakers fans felt that for many years after they won their championship with Kobe Bryant. In 2010.
Yeah.
And so the Lakers fans are even more ruthless than the Boston Celtics fans. But still, at the same time, I think Boston fans are pretty upset because obviously the big thing is that we don't want the Lakers to surpass us in championships in total. And which will happen now because Danny Ainge has decided to create a culture and create an environment where we can't even contend for that championship because we don't have the right players. We don't bring in the right veteran guys. It ends up being so toxic to the point where I think, I would have warned Jason Tatum from signing that contract extension if I knew that he was going to be with Danny Ainge. But, that's just my take.
I mean, I feel like get your money while you can and then maybe, force your way out.
I'm trying to think if he has a player option. I know that's kind of like the big talking point right now are these rookie contracts. These rookie extension contracts are coming in with like contract extensions. That's kind of been the biggest thing because I think a lot of teams are like, well, do we really want to give a player option? But at the end of the day, every player is now getting a player option.
Yeah, I mean, I think they have to. Agents are always trying to get that in their contracts just because it's such it's a good luxury to have. You can opt in, you can opt out. So these days, players, especially star players, they won't sign that contract if they don't have that player option.
Yeah, I think it's just an insurance policy to make sure that they do get players that are whatchamacallit. Like if players want to, create cap space for, superstar players to come play with them, it obviously creates that sort of flexibility for teams to kind of be like, okay, if this is what you want, we'll do it for you. And then you just either accept into the player option or you opt out and we do a new contract and we get the guys you want. I mean, we're even seeing rumors of that with Giannis and Anthony Davis, which I know should excite you.
Oh, yeah. I hope that happens. We re-signed Kostas, so... if Giannis leaves the Bucks, his other brother Thanasis isn't going to stay there. So hopefully he wants to play with all three of his brothers and win championships with them. Because if he comes to LA, that's exactly what would happen.
Nope, I already said it in my other live stream. I think we would already just hand the championship to the LA Lakers at this point. If that does happen, you might as well just not even play the season. You might as well just hand them the championship. Edit their stats so they have good looking stats. And just give them a championship because I don't see any team competing with that team of a three-man roster of like Giannis, LeBron, and AD, and so oh man. But anyway, I think you wanted to talk about the Gordon Hayward situation, kind of the contract extension that he got from the Charlotte Hornets. I mean, what did you make of that whole fiasco?
Man, he's a great white hope. That's why he got the contract.
The great white hope.
Chandler Parsons walked so that man could run, bro. I don't understand how he finessed MJ like that. It doesn't make any type of sense whatsoever. That's all-star level money. He's had one all-star appearance in his 10, 11-year career. One all-star appearance. And he's made $228 million. The first contract from the Celtics, highly deserved. He was just coming off an all-star appearance. Nobody saw those injuries coming. But then now he's been injured repeatedly. He was like the fourth, sometimes fifth option on the Celtics team behind Marcus Smart, Tatum, Brown, and Kemba. Like, bro, how? And then even if you're MJ, why limit yourself like that? Like you did not have to pay him that much money, dog. I'm sure the only reason he came to you is because you gave him that much money. But like, why limit your flexibility as a young rebuilding team by just giving him that money? It doesn't make any type of sense whatsoever.
Yeah.
Now you have Miles Bridges at that position. You have PJ Washington at that position. But this guy's making 120 mil. And so what are you going to do? Play your guy that you gave 120 mil like he should play because he has 120 mil? Or are you going to play your young guys that need to develop and, get better so you can start winning games?
Man, Gordon Hayward definitely got the Nick Batum stimulus package because, I mean, the fact that those two guys just got paid and, Nicholas Batum played, but I think he was like a bench player when he was.
Bro, that's not even the Batum package because Batum was good off the Trailblazers. We thought he was good. He just finessed us. We know Gordon ain't good right now. Like, he's good, but not 120 mil good.
Exactly. Eoy said, I mean, Danny Ainge did pull off Kyrie Irving moves, signed Kemba and Gordon Hayward. Those are mid to big moves. Injuries happen in AD as a semi-injury prone. You never know what happened, man. Look at the Warriors a couple years ago with KD, Boogie, and Klay Thompson all went down in the playoffs. I mean, Eoy, to kind of go back to your Danny Ainge move for the Celtics, I just felt like those moves, I just don't think that Danny Ainge did his research when it came to guys like Kyrie Irving, guys like Gordon Hayward, in terms of like, and even Kemba Walker to an extent, right? I just think that in order to know, like, you need to get the input of your teammates, of the players, your coaches, because I feel like as much as we'd love to kind of criticize, Kyrie Irving and all these other players for, leaving the Celtics, at the same time, you have to criticize Danny Ainge for the moves that he did make for those because, I think Kyrie Irving can admit himself that he is a little bit flaky at times in terms of like, you know what? He's going to go to the best position possible to win. He thought it was going to be in Boston, but at the end of the day, I think Kyrie Irving plays a different style that's not accustomed to Brad Stevens. So Brad Stevens says, you know what? You can just move on. And I just think that Danny Ainge needs to do a little bit more research. So, I mean, I would call those good moves, Eoy, but at the same time, I just don't think that he's looking at it in a basketball analytical perspective. And I know that analytics isn't everything, but I just don't think that he necessarily looked at that stuff the right way.
Yeah, that's true. You can definitely see that with the results.
I mean, even Kemba Walker, like, as much as I love Kemba, at the end of the day, he's still a small guard, and he got exposed by guys like Jimmy Butler on switches, and that's ended up costing us a lot of points.
Guys like Tyler Herro, too.
Yeah. I mean, the fact, like, we can love Kemba Walker. I think he's a great player, but at the end of the day, defensively is what we need from our guards. And even today, I think you see the reason why guys like Cade Cunningham are so high on people's radars. Guys like LaMelo Ball, even though defensively is not the best, as long as you're 6'7" or taller, or kind of like that 6'6" and taller type of point guard with the lanky arms and just a big build, teams will take chances on you more than these smaller guards because it doesn't matter about your points per game anymore. It doesn't matter how many points you score. It's about your assists, and it's also about your shooting. If you can shoot the ball really well and you can pass the ball, then teams will give you much more chances. And as much as I love Kemba Walker, he's just not giving you the defensive, even type of potential that I think a guy like LaMelo Ball can, or even a guy like Cade Cunningham can in the future. I mean, it's just, as much as I love Kemba, I think he's a great player. Still, at the end of the day, I'm not sure if he's going to help us win the championship.
Yeah, exactly. You need two-way players to win championships. They run the league now. That's the most way to impact the game, But at least Kemba can try to come back and learn from his mistakes this year. But there's only so much he can correct on the defensive end because I know sometimes watching him this year, it looks like he was tired out there and. Like, at least on the defensive end, because he's doing so much on offense, trying to, play make, set up his teammates, since no one else on his team did it besides Gordon Hayward. He was injured. And Marcus Smart, too, I guess. But, yeah, there's only so much he can make up with that because he's limited physically. I don't understand why Danny Ainge signed him to a 120-year contract or a 120 mil contract if, you weren't willing to do that with Isaiah Thomas, who's also small. It kind of really contradictory. It doesn't make sense. Same with MJ too. He wasn't willing to pay Kemba the max, but then and the next year he gives Gordon Hayward 120 mil, which doesn't. Kemba didn't. You should have given Kemba the max just off what he did for your organization the last 8 years of his career, but then you just let him walk and give it to Gordon Hayward.
Yeah, it's.
I think that's a business move. It has to be a business move. MJ's just trying to sell shoes. He knows Charlotte fans will ride for him. They'll be like, "Oh yeah, we got LaMelo Ball and we got Gordon Hayward. Let me go buy some Jordans. Let me go watch a Hornets game."
Yeah, I mean, he better hope that the city of Charlotte, what are they, North Carolina or South Carolina?
North Carolina.
He better hope the North Carolina state is open, because I don't think a lot of fans are going to be clamoring to watch their product. I mean, the only thing I would watch honestly is LaMelo Ball. I kind of wish he didn't go there. Really reluctantly, but at the end of the day, I think that it's still I still think he'll be a good player in this league. But I mean, I just think that, kind of going back to your Gordon Hayward point, Brad, I think for some reason these players, like, I don't know what it is about some of these players that get these big contracts after, with limited potential in terms of, like, they didn't really show you much, but they still get money. It's just like, at the end of the day, Gordon Hayward, as much as I think that he's like a decent player in this league, as much as I think that he's a good player, maybe not a great or a superstar player, but a good player. I think the injury still affected him to this day. I mean, like, he's not as athletic, he's not as explosive as he once was. I still think he's afraid to go up and try and go to the rim and attack. And that's kind of what made Gordon Hayward successful in his All-Star appearance and in the playoff runs. It's just his ability to attack the rim, go and finish. And I just think he played really timid. He didn't really play like the Gordon Hayward that I think we all expected him to play, especially the Utah Jazz type of Gordon Hayward. And I think that Michael Jordan and the front office there are just hoping and praying that that's the Gordon Hayward you're going to get back at some point. But at the end of the day, I don't think you're going to get that Gordon Hayward. You're going to get the Gordon Hayward that you got last year, which is timid, more willing to be a passer than really a shooter or a finisher. And that's just not going to help the Hornets in any way. I mean, I would rather play the young guys for the Hornets than the roster that they have right now with Gordon Hayward in it.
Exactly. But Gordon will play a lot since they gave him so much money. What I was confused about was, I mean, I understand signing LaMelo just because he will sell, but if you were going to do that, then, why didn't you look early on to make moves for, like, getting off of Terry's contract or Devontae Graham, moving him, who has a lot of value. Devontae Graham has a lot of value. He can pass the hell out of the ball, shoot the hell out of the ball. He's limited defensively, but just with those two abilities, a lot of teams need that. So,
yeah, I mean, I agree with you, Brad. I think there was a lot of moves that the Hornets could have done to really offload some of those contracts that they have, especially Scary Terry, PJ Washington, Devontae Graham. Like, you can make a lot of moves with those guys if you're deciding, okay, let's see if we can make like let's see if we can make a playoff team out of this. We just have to get to the 9th or 10th seed and we get into those play-in games and see if we can make some magic happen. And maybe we can talk about that a little bit, Brad. I don't know what your opinion is of the play-in games.
I love it. I love the play-in.
You love it, even with the 9 and 10 seed, with the 7 and 8 doing those play-in games.
Yeah, I think it makes it more fun because it makes guys take the regular season a little more seriously because you don't want to be in that position. So to avoid having to play in and possibly losing your playoff spot that you secured, then you're going to play harder in the regular season, and that makes the games more fun for us as fans. And then also the playing games itself is like a mini March Madness, so that's really fun.
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree with you in that aspect. I mean, the only thing that sucks is for the 7th seed. I mean, unless it's like, the 7th seed is like, 10 or 15 games ahead. I mean, I have to reread the rules again to make sure that the 7th seed, it's not like within 2 games or something like that. But, I think for the 7th seed, it sucks because, I mean, I could see the point of the 7th seed being there as well, but I just don't feel like rewarding the 10th best team in the conference just because they are close within it. Because at the end of the day, it comes down to making sure that the coaches have the right strategy, the players are playing well in their spots, And I think that it makes more sense for the 8th seed because especially if it's like 2 or 3 games behind, it makes it more fun. But I just feel like for the 10th team in the conference, like, you know, let's say the Charlotte Hornets are in there. I mean, they should be punished for their bad decision making that they made in the offseason with Gordon Hayward. But I mean,
that's true.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's gonna be some fun basketball, man. This is probably gonna be the first year where I get League Pass, and actually watch games, and I want to see if they're gonna discount it because it's, you know, you're not getting 82, you're just getting, 72 games, but who knows?
They better discount it. But to your point about, you know, the 7th seed, like not being fair for the 7th seed, I think that, I mean, that's a pretty good point because, yeah, if you made shitty decisions in the offseason, you shouldn't even get a chance. But a lot of teams also do, like, face injuries and, you know, suspensions, DeAndre Ayton and John Collins. And, you know, both those teams, the Hawks and Suns, would have been in playoff play if they had their star big men.
True.
But that's their own fault. But teams like the Pelicans who lost Zion, I think they would have been in playoff contention as an 8th seed if they hadn't lost Zion. So the play-in tournaments give those kind of teams a chance to at least, you know, make that push if they've been hampered by injuries.
Yeah, I also think that was I think there's a lot to blame for the Pelicans last year as to why they didn't get in there. One of those being, as much as it pains me to say, you know, Lonzo Ball did not perform.
Don't say it. No.
Lonzo Ball did not perform in the bubble. I love Lonzo Ball, man. I think he's a good player. But it feels like his time in New Orleans. Hey, Tyrese, how you doing, man? I feel like Lonzo Ball's time in New Orleans is up. With the fact that they drafted Kyra Lewis. I probably just butchered that name. I hate it because I think that Lonzo Ball is actually really good. I think that, you know, I think pre-bubble, he was on pace to being a most improved player. Even though he was the 2nd round pick, I get it. But he was on pace, at least close to being a most improved player in the league. And then, unfortunately, the bubble happened, and then he just completely went AWOL in terms of, like, scoring-wise, shooting-wise, defensively, just lost on mismatches. I don't know if his heart was in the basketball at that moment. I don't know what his mind was on, but
the bubble was tough. People were away from their families, and it was like self-isolation. He didn't look like he wanted to be in there at all.
Yeah.
But I don't know about his time being up with the Pelicans because him and Zion were a pretty good duo. You know, like they had one of the top 5, they had the top 5 most assisted baskets to each other in the league after like AD and Bron and like Giannis and Lopez or something.
Giannis and Lopez.
It might not have been Giannis and Lopez, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I got you. That'd be funny. That'd be funny as hell if it was just like Giannis and Lopez, just as like a top five duo.
Yeah.
The disrespect to Middleton, man.
I couldn't say Middleton. I think, and what's really funny is I saw Shams tweet when they signed Drew Holiday. He was like, two-way all-star Drew Holiday going to the my cat's eating dog food, bro. going to the Bucks. Giannis finally has that two-way superstar B partner or whatever. And I was like, damn, this hella disrespectful to Chris Middleton, you know? And then Shams deleted the tweet because it was hella disrespectful, but I screenshotted it.
Nice. You can't get away from that, Sham.
Nah. But it's true. I mean, he basically just tweeted what we all think about Chris Middleton, you know? We all watched him just lay a fat egg back-to-back years in a row.
Yeah, I maybe, you know, is the jig up on his All-Star appearances?
It needs to be, bro. He's not. People were saying, oh, he made 50, 40, 90, yada, yada. Well, yeah, he's playing with Giannis, and he barely has to do anything. It's easy to be efficient when you have such a great player next to you and such a great team around you, too. You're surrounded by shooters and whatnot. But he's not a real, like, two-way all-star in that same category as players like, you know, Klay Thompson and, you know, all these other people that were in that 50, 40, 90 club. Reggie Miller, like, he's not that kind of player. He's a tier below them.
Yeah, exactly. Let me see here as well. Something else I kind of wanted to talk about. Where was it? I think it was in the draft. What did you make of Patrick Williams going to the Chicago Bulls? I know this was a rumored player that like had the potential to go from even number 4 to all the way to like number 12. Like, did you see this side of? I mean, like, what do you see in Patrick Williams that the Chicago Bulls see? I mean, maybe I'm not seeing it, but I don't know about that high of a jump for Patrick Williams.
Yeah, I'm not sure why they took him at 4. I do think he's a good player, but I think they probably needed more of a actual point guard. But I guess they're pretty high on Kobe White and Thomas Satoransky combo. But if I was them, I would have taken Tyrese Halliburton. I think he's a great compliment to Zach LaVine.
Yeah, and the fact that yeah, what are you gonna say, Brad? Sorry.
I can see the Patrick Williams reasoning because he's 6'10", 6'9". He's super long. He's going to come in and be a good defender minimum, you know, just with his athletic ability and with his physical skills or physical attributes. And that's just with, you know, how he's built. But once he actually understands the NBA game and pace and whatnot, he'll become an even better defender, kind of like we saw with Kawhi Leonard. And then he has a smooth stroke. He fills a need for them, really. I think at that power forward, small forward position, they're really, really bad defensively because they play Laurie a lot. They play Otto Porter. Sometimes Denzel Valentine gets minutes at that small forward position. They don't have anybody that's really solid defensively there. So I guess that was high 3 and D. I guess that was their reasoning.
Yeah, I mean, I see that with Patrick Williams. I don't know. I just feel like it's a lot of high risk, high reward. I know, like you said, he might be the next like Kawhi Leonard type of player where you're like, dang, you know, Kawhi Leonard went like 13 in the draft, and so, you know, I think it's kind of people just being like, oh shoot, we don't want to miss out on the next Kawhi. But I don't know, man. I feel like
I don't think he'll be Kawhi, but I mean, he can play some really good defense, but I don't think he'll be Kawhi.
Yeah, I mean, just the fact that Halliburton fell so far down the draft. I don't know what. I mean, I don't know if the scouts were afraid of his jumper or like what was going on with Halliburton, but I mean, to go even going to Sacramento is kind of I wish he didn't go there, man.
I really wish he didn't go there. The fit with De'Aaron Fox is terrible. They both need the ball in their hands. Tyrese can shoot, but like, why are you taking him off the ball when one of his best skills is passing? You know, you're not going to get the full Tyrese Halliburton experience because you have De'Aaron Fox handling the ball, who you just signed to a max extension. So he's going to have the ball whenever he wants.
Exactly. I mean, I don't know. I think Tyrese Halliburton probably could have went to these other teams as well. I mean, New York could have taken him. They went with Obi Toppin instead. They could have went, you know, Detroit was an interesting one because they went Killian Hayes. It was kind of a, you know, I think
they should have taken Halliburton for sure. At least the Pistons. I can understand the Knicks drafting Obi Toppin just because he's from there and he's Showtime, because they're not interested in becoming a better team at this point. They just need to sell him.
Yeah, I mean, I think New York is just at the point of just no return. I mean, as soon as they get rid of their owner, the team will be so much better.
Yeah.
Wow, you think that Halliburton at 4 would have been a reach? No, I like Halliburton's potential. I think he's actually going to be one of the better point guards in the league from this draft class, at least. You know,
and I could see that being a reach a little bit. But at least with the Pistons pick, what was their pick? 7?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's perfectly where he should have been. I could see 4 being a reach maybe. But I mean, they took Patrick Williams, so.
I mean, yeah, we'll find out in the next couple of years whether that was a reach or whether that was the right pickup. And I think other than that, you know, I think another surprise to me was actually Cole Anthony going to number 15. You know, I saw his stock fall below way like down in the draft, like maybe in the late 20s. But he ended up being number 15. I mean, what did you make of Cole Anthony's draft?
I think he went to the perfect team for his game. I really thought he was going to fall into like the 26, 29 range. But with the Magic, you know, they have Vucevic, who's a big slow man. So having somebody like Cole Anthony that you can pair, who's explosive with the ball and quick, if he can If he can actually decide that, oh, I want to pass the ball, he could get Vucevic a lot of easy looks just with his own explosiveness and quickness, ball handling. But that's if he decides to pass the ball and not try and go and be, mini Allen Iverson, because that's really what I see in his game is he just wants to put up shots.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, what better team to do that on than the Orlando Magic? So whatever way you slice it, it's a kind of good fit for him. They lost DJ Augustine, so Cole will have the keys along with Markelle Fultz.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how Markelle Fultz grows and develop. I know that whole man, it just feels like yesterday that whole fiasco just happened in Philadelphia.
I'll never forgive the Sixers for that, man. I remember seeing a stat about how they traded away Fultz, and then Fultz ended up making more threes in the playoffs than Tobias Harris and Al Horford combined.
And Ben Simmons.
And Ben, yeah.
Oh man, I'm still. I don't know, man. I'm losing hope on Ben Simmons at this point.
Me too. It's hard to because he's 6'10" with so much raw talent, but I've been down on him for a long time. There's so many better point guards I would take. I would take Kyle Lowry. I'd take Drew Holiday. I'd take Kemba Walker over Ben Simmons. I don't care that he's a Defensive Player of the Year candidate because he's actually, I'm not taking Kemba over Ben. Okay, just because he can play defense. Yeah, I changed my mind, but I'm definitely taking Kyle Lowry and Drew Holiday and Jamal Murray.
Yeah, I mean, I just think the frustrating thing, and I don't know where we're going with this, but I think with Ben Simmons, the frustrating thing for me is that I feel like I know that he's working on his game, I know that he does that stuff, but I just feel like he's too focused on joining FaZe Clan, which is like the gaming organization with a bunch of the FaZe members. I just felt like he's too focused on that aspect. I think he's one of those guys that kind of gives me the vibe of he likes the perks of being in the NBA, but not the work, but not the what's the right word? Like he likes the perks of the NBA and not really playing in the NBA. That's kind of the vibe I get from him. Can he change that? I hope so. I mean, I'm hoping that without this like Jenner Kardashian voodoo magic that's going on with Ben Simmons, I hope that's over now. But I'm starting to lose hope, just because I think that, like you said, it's been a couple years for Ben Simmons, and he hasn't like gotten that like LeBron James type of jump in terms. I mean, it's rare for anybody to do that, but maybe we give him like the Giannis treatment in terms of like we give him those years to kind of grow. But at the same time, I mean, Giannis was a young player when he came to the Bucks, and where he's at right now is just a completely different player.
Yeah, exactly. It's a mental thing with Ben Simmons, which is why I don't like when people say, "Oh, just surround him with shooters the same way we've done with Giannis, and he'll be just like Giannis." It's like, no, not at all, because Giannis has the mental drive to say, "I'm going to score on you every time. I'm going to get past you every time, and there's nothing you can do to stop me." Ben doesn't have that, because he has the same body and build and athleticism, but he doesn't do it. And even if he had the shooters, I don't think he would, because we haven't seen that from him. So it's crazy to just expect him to do it just because he has shooters.
Yeah, exactly. And we'll see what happens, man. I think, Ben Simmons, I think this is the final year where I think they have to decide, the 76ers, whether or not they're going to build around Joel Embiid or they're going to build around Ben Simmons and try and trade one of those guys to surround themselves with better players. Because I think it's about time that experiment's over. I think those two don't like each other. I think those two games don't fit, because anytime Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid are on the floor, I think when the coach, I can't remember the coach's name, is it Brett Brown? I think that's who it is. Not this year, but last year. Brett Brown would just kind of put Ben Simmons in the short corner and just would say, "Hey, just chill there." Wouldn't even use him in the offense.
Yeah. I think, Brett Brown had no idea how to use those two together. He was a horrific coach, and he should have been fired when they lost to Miami like 3 years ago in the playoffs. Because I think another coach, they would have played a smart coach would have played Ben Simmons at power forward from the jump. He has no business handling the ball out there when the game is in clutch time, because everybody knows he's going to pass it. He's not going to fucking shoot it. So just sag off him, and we're going to get a steal, or we're going to get an easy stop, easy double. A good coach would have hit him within your offense, and Brett Brown never did that.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, he should have been fired immediately as soon as they got those two players, and just have a new coach and be like, all right, this is what we're gonna do. This is kind of the route that we want to go into. But at the end of the day, we'll see what happens with Doc Rivers. I mean, we'll see if Doc Rivers has the
ability to make him take a fucking three.
yeah, I mean, just to do something offensively besides dunk the ball. I mean, he's got to be able to shoot the three, because at this league is all about shooting the three. Like, as much as we like it or dislike it, at the end of the day, you have to shoot the three. And if you can't shoot the three, then you're going to be of no use to any team in the market. I mean, teams are going to look at you and be like,
Yeah, pretty much.
And so I think that's kind of where my opinion is of that situation. But I kind of wanted to circle back to the mock draft for the next year's draft class, and kind of talk a little bit more about Cade Cunningham. I know that you watched him. I know that you like him. I like him. To be honest with you, Brad, I think he's the number one pick in the draft out of all these players that are eligible to be drafted. I know that you saw some places had Jalen Suggs as number one. Jalen Green is also kind of in that competition to be in the top two picks. If you had to look at all these rosters again, Brad, like who's standing out to you, like between Cade Cunningham, Jalen Green, Jalen Suggs? Like what's Cade Cunningham bring to you that I think, or I don't know what your opinion is really. I'd love to know it.
I think, I don't know how some of these boards have Jalen Suggs only number one. I know he's been amazing and his breakout has been crazy, but I think that's just like your typical like knee-jerk reaction, because there's no way in hell I would take Jalen Suggs over Cade Cunningham in this draft. Cade is pretty much Jalen, but with 2 inches on him, a couple more pounds on him, longer, and a better. I wouldn't say just an outright better playmaker, but Cade is an amazing passer. His whole game is predicated around playmaking for his teammates. So then he goes and gets buckets. So that translates better to the NBA than Jalen, who's like, he can play make, but it's usually him using his quickness to try and get a bucket, and then he play makes or something. I think Cade has more potential on the defensive end and like more star potential overall. He's an easy number one pick to me. You would have to be the dumbest organization in the league to get a number one pick and not draft him.
Well, according to this mock draft I have, it should be the New York Knicks, but we'll see.
Well, they're definitely dumb enough to miss on him. So lucky number 2 pick, I guess. Someone else I really like in this draft class upcoming too, I got to give a shout out to Jonathan Kuminga, my Congolese boy.
Yeah, I mean, he's in the G League, right? He's playing in the G League, if I'm not mistaken. Like, that's the route he decided to go in.
Which I kind of don't like, because I feel like that's why not just play in college? I understand why not just play in college, because you get paid in the G League and a whole bunch of other shit. You get benefits and whatnot. They're paying for school. It's like a mini LeVar Ball thing. You know how LeVar Ball tried to do that little. Yeah, except it's official. But your draft stock has a way higher chance of falling doing that, just because you're playing against grown men and whatnot, and it's a shock sometimes. You may not, dominate the way you would if you were playing against people your own age. Mm-hmm. So scouts shouldn't take too much stock into that, because he is young, but sometimes they do, and it hurts your draft stock.
Exactly. I mean, another thing that we kind of have to mention also is Makur Maker. Unfortunately has a groin injury, and I think he's going to be out indefinitely. I think he's he's going to Howard, and that's kind of what's reported.
Oh my God.
So that's the unfortunate thing about that situation. I wish him all the best in the speedy recovery. Hopefully it's not a serious injury where he's out the whole season. I'm hoping that he can play some games, but it's going to be a tough one for the Howard. I'm not sure what their mascot is. Let me look this up. Oops. University mascot. Oops.
Oh, yeah,
Bison.
He's not coming back. Oh my God. They're sitting him for groin injuries. They're sitting him because Howard is terrible. That's why.
They're trying to preserve him.
Yeah, they're terrible. They can't. if he's even slightly hurt, why risk having your 5-star recruit keep playing for your shitty team and get hurt even more? You know, I
Yeah.
saw that they were getting their asses whooped by a Division II team, Queens.
Ooh. Is that like Queens, New York?
I think so.
Oh my goodness, man. Eek. Let me see. Howard University like basketball. I kind of want to see like what conference they play in.
Do they play Ivy League? Um,
No, they play in the Mid Eastern Athletic Conference.
okay.
Copen State, North Carolina. I mean, like these are some. I mean, let's see here. Yeah, it's kind of one of those. Let's see here. Yeah, like an Old Dominion plays in this one, I believe, too. I mean, it's a South Carolina State. Yeah, more or less are known, like I guess to the college scene. But it was cool that Maker was gonna do the switch to Howard, and I think he got like a lot of offers from different like D1 colleges, but decided to go to Howard. And that's unfortunate that he got hurt, because I think that it'd be nice to know what we got with Maker in that sense. But
Yeah, exactly.
kind of another kind of person to talk about really quick here is I want to see Jalen Green play. I haven't seen him play in a while. I want to see what he's all about. I know that he's got a lot of hype to his name. I know that that's kind of a player that a lot of organizations are looking at as like a top 2 pick. Have you watched any of Jalen Green, Brad, or have you not?
I have. And he went to the G League too. I haven't watched anything from the G League. I don't know if they've started anything, but I've watched some of his high school games. In high school, it kind of just looks like I'm not high on him as a number 2 pick, because he was just dominating everyone in high school with his athleticism and height and length.
Mm-hmm.
Even when he's playing up against people in his class, like who are also highly ranked, he's just dominating them with his stupid athleticism, which you can't do in the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard. It's hard. The NBA is the league of freaks. So I'm just not high on him for that, because the only reason he's that high is his pure athleticism. He floats through the sky. I think he could be a good player, all-star potential, all of that, but I don't think he's a number 2 pick. He's also really, really skinny, and I saw him get bullied by just people who shouldn't have been bullying him.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of I think Jalen. We'll see what happens with him in terms of like because I know the G League is debating whether they're going to do a bubble or not. Just because most of those guys, unless they're like 2-way contract players, I don't think they will. But oh man, I hate the Athletic is just so annoying.
I'm higher on Jalen Johnson than Jalen Green. I like Evan Mobley.
Yeah, I know.
I think
he's a high prospect, Evan Mobley.
Yeah. He fits small ball perfectly. His athleticism is crazy. I like Jonathan Kuminga better than Jalen Green, just because Jalen Green is, like I said, so skinny. Jonathan Kuminga actually has, some pounds on him. He's athletic too. He's long. I've seen him lock in on defense, which I haven't seen Jalen Green really do.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of players actually interesting in this draft class. Like you said, it's a pretty deep one, I would say, compared to last year or this year's current draft class. I mean, like I said, you got Cade Cunningham, who I'm really high on. I think Brandon Boston could be a decent player in this league. Evan Mobley, I think a lot of people are really high on him. And so I need to watch some USC basketball to see what his situation is. Zaire Williams playing for Stanford. That's also an interesting one. Jalen Suggs. I'm high on Jalen Suggs as well. And like you said, Jonathan Kuminga, I think there was a lot of people that are high on him. I'm high on him too. I kind of want to see a little bit more just because, of G League stuff. And I know that I believe he's an overseas player, if I'm not mistaken. Or am I wrong on that?
Kuminga, he went to He went to the same school as Michael Kidd-Gilchrist and Kyrie in New Jersey.
Okay, gotcha.
I think.
For some reason,
And he came from overseas, but he's been here for a little bit.
yeah. I mean, yeah. There's just a bunch of good players in this draft class, and I think at the end of the day, yo, what's up, Pete? How you doing, man? I think at the end of the day, what it comes down to for this draft class and what it comes down to is just who's going to get that number 1 pick. Because like you talked about, I think Cade Cunningham is just a can't miss guy. And I think everyone's going to try and tank for him this year. He's just that talented and that athletic that people are just going to try and do anything they can to make sure that he is going to be on their roster in the next coming year.
Yeah. If I was the Knicks, I'm definitely tanking for Cade Cunningham. I think some people made some picks just to tank for this next draft class because they knew this draft class wasn't, all that. So they're just kind of like, all right, we'll just take him and we'll tank.
OKC. Yeah.
Yeah. OKC is definitely, they're tanking for Bronny or Cade Cunningham.
Oh my God. Can you imagine if Bronny was going to the, what was it? If he goes to the Knicks?
I don't know if LeBron would ever let that happen. He'd have to pull some strings. Savannah would be like, no, don't let my baby go to the Knicks.
He would say, you know what? I'm returning for, depends on, if they get rid of the high school role. But he might be like, you know what? I'm returning for my sophomore year. Just to know,
Yeah, on God, yeah.
Or he'll take a year off. He'll take a sabbatical before he decides to play in the NBA so he doesn't get on the Knicks. I mean,
for real, yeah.
I mean, I know we make fun of the Knicks many, many times before, but I just think at the end of the day, the Knicks just have to get rid of the owner. It's time. It's time to get rid of him. It's time to move on. I know it's not one of those things where you can just easily say hey, owner, you're out. But I just think that that's kind of the reason why the Knicks haven't won and haven't really been that competitive and really hadn't have that fire and aspiration like they once did with that Carmelo Amari Stoudemire team. And that's just the God honest truth, Brad. I think that I think the owner needs to leave. He needs to sell them because I think that's the only time I think I see the Knicks actually being a viable championship winning team.
1,000% facts. James Dolan is the worst owner in major sports. Worst owner next to MJ and next to Tillman Fertitta and Jerry Jones. Jerry, yeah. Tillman Fertitta is trash. I can't stand Tillman Fertitta.
Yeah, I feel like he comes in and just wants to change everything immediately instead of it's a quick and slow change. He's like, nope, I want this, this, and this. And I just feel like he gets his way, and his way is just not always the right way. It never is.
Yeah.
And then I think the last thing I kind of want to ask you, Brad, before we kind of sign off and, kind of say your final words on, maybe the NBA free agency or maybe this draft class is, what do you make of Jalen Suggs? Is Jalen Suggs a top 5 pick, do you think? Or do you think he's kind of good in that top 8?
If it was this draft class, I would say he was the top 5 pick. But in this next upcoming draft class, it's just too packed. I don't know if I would take him top 5 because there's so many supremely talented wing players and small ball bigs, which affect the game more. It's hard to make it in that league as a guard, even though I think Jalen Suggs has the skill and talent by far to impact it. I'd say he's more of a top 10 pick.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's way too early to tell, but I think from what I've watched and kind of my overreaction to everything, I think he is a top 5 player, man. I just think his passing is something that you can't teach. And I know that it's kind of a cliche because we talk about it with the Ball brothers. We talk about it with many players that can do the passing ability. But I just think that his vision is just too good for me to kind of have him sit lower than 5. I think these teams are kind of rumored to be in that position. You got the Knicks. Obviously, they're going to take Cade Cunningham if they're the number 1. Cleveland, they're not going to be taking a point guard. Detroit, not going to be taking a point guard. Charlotte, not taking a point guard. I think Oklahoma City, I know they have Shai Gilgeous, but I think adding him could actually be a really good, a really good pickup for them. The Wizards
could draft him.
The Wizards could draft him if they decide to get rid of John Wall and kind of move in a different direction, but
which I think they will.
They're going to have to at this point. I mean,
yeah.
Well, I mean, other than that, Brad, I mean, do you have anything else to say before we kind of sign out of here? I mean, do you have any like things you want to say about the NBA? Do you have anything you want to say about this college basketball season? What's on your mind, Brad? Before we sign off.
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to two players who put on a show a couple of days ago. Io, I'm gonna butcher his last name, and I'm African, so I feel bad about it. But Io Desonomu, and Jason Preston. Those two from Ohio. Jason Preston plays at Ohio, and Io plays at Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
Those two put on a show the other day.
Yeah, that was a fun game.
Yeah, man, two big long point guards who can shoot the ball, who can attack, who play make for their teammates, and they're both really, really high IQ players. I think Jason Preston is a sleeper. I need to see him rise on some draft boards. I don't even see him on this mock draft that I'm looking at, and I know he's limited athletically, but he's really raw right now, and he has a lot of potential. And I think he belongs in the league just based off his, basketball IQ, and then he has the height to go with it. I like his game a lot, him and Desonomu.
Yeah, and I think before we head out, I think the shout out that I want to give to is oh my goodness, I need to go to the website because I was watching the Bad Mowers Classic. That was my weekend tournament that I was watching.
Okay.
Let me see if I think it's Western Kentucky. Basketball.
Oh, Charles Bassey?
Charles Bassey, that's who it is. Thank you, Brad. Charles Bassey. Shout out to him, man. He's a fun player to watch, man. I mean, I think that he's one of those guys, whether he makes the NBA or not, or whether he's kind of like a Euro player. Like I like his game. I think he's a fun guy to watch. I think I love his hustle. His like that Western Kentucky team. They went against the West Virginia team that I think had some really good players. I think they're 15th in the nation. They did give them a run for their money, but at the end of the day, Western Kentucky, I think, is just a little bit more talented. But I still like this Western Kentucky team, man. I think they're going to surprise some people this year. I mean, hopefully there's an NCAA tournament and they can make it in there and they can shock the world.
Yeah, exactly. I think I think Charles Bassey would put on a great performance for the world because I think he's another center that fits small ball perfectly. 6'11", he's super long. He can run the floor really well, crazy athletic. He has a little bit of touch outside the hoop. He has great touch inside, close to the basket. So I think he would be amazing in a March Madness show.
Exactly. And Brad, thank you once again for joining us here on The Charge. It was a pleasure having you, of course. Anytime, you're welcome to come on the live stream. We'll probably set something up again.
Pleasure to be here.
Probably talk some more of this college basketball and maybe even some I'm kind of going to start something new, which is kind of called like a rebuild series. I did it as like YouTube videos, but I think live streaming is kind of the wave now. And so I love doing these rebuild series where we kind of go team by team and kind of say like, okay, what moves can they make for the future to get themselves in a better position? Almost, I call it a fixer upper. And so that's kind of the series that I want to do here, just as a live channel type of thing. So if you're more than welcome to join me on any of those episodes, any of your favorite teams, and just kind of talk some fixer uppers and try and fix a team and help them become a championship winning team.
I like the sound of that. I got a lot of ideas for a lot of these teams.
Yeah, a lot of these teams need some major renovation. But anyway, guys, thank you once again for joining me here and my boy Brad on The Charge, giving the latest NBA news and rumors and also basketball opinions. And today, guys, we did go over our NBA kind of prospects that we're seeing here. Of course, I have Charles Bassey on my screen, but we talked many rumors in the league. We talked about the Nicholas Batum stuff, the Gordon Hayward. The only thing we didn't talk about was the freaking whatchamacallit, the turkey that Gordon Hayward made. That was absolutely disgusting.
That was terrible. I would expect nothing better from them, honestly.
Yeah, that turkey was just absolutely horrible. But anyway, like the channel, hit that subscribe button if you're a new one. Brad, do you want to shout out your Twitter or Instagram handles? They can follow you.
Yeah, follow me on Twitter. I put off all my basketball takes on Twitter at Kwesele12, KWESELE 12.
All right, you heard the man. Make sure you follow my boy Brad, man. His Twitter is really it's active. I love it. But anyway, guys, like we talked about, thank you once again for joining me here. We'll catch you on the next live stream. I will let you know via Twitter. Of course, ours is called The Charge Streams. So follow here if you want to notify when we're going to be streaming. But like I said, we'll catch you guys in the next video. Catch you later, guys. Peace.
Peace.